Hello guys, so this is a video I'm creating to show you guys what I did to install Arch Linux on my system. Now I'll be demonstrating the steps I used to install Arch Linux on my system using QEMU/KVM virtual machine. So before I start the installation, this is the specifications I've set up for the KVM. I've set it up to be UEFI, I've assigned it 4 cores, gave it 4 gigabytes of memory, the Arch installation ISO connected as a CD-ROM, a 40 gigabyte hard drive, network card, various other peripherals, and so on. So, let's get started. Now, once the KVM boots up, here's the UEFI boot menu for the Arch Linux live installation media. We'll take the first default option. Now, on my real laptop, which I used to install Arch Linux, I used Rufus to flash the ISO onto my pen drive and booted it from the pen drive to get into the live installation medium to install Arch Linux. Also, my laptop is dual booting with Windows, so I had to install certain additional packages and to do the drive formatting quite a bit differently compared to the one I'll be showing now. So, to begin with, the first thing we should check is whether we have internet connection. So for that, first we'll check the various hardware devices, internet network devices we have. For that we type IP link. Now in the case of this virtual machine, we have a loopback system and the Ethernet. And in this case, the Ethernet is already pre-connected. So if we type ping google.com, it will be showing that we are connected to the internet. Now, in the case we have to use Wi-Fi, you should be using the iwctl command, and you can connect to the internet using the command iwctl passphrase the WPA to PSK key station, the Wi-Fi card device name. For example, in my case it was WLO0, WLO1, and connect the name of the SSID. Now in this virtual machine we don't have Wi-Fi, we have Ethernet which is already set up, so that step is done for us. So the next thing I'll be checking is the date. Now in this case the time is incorrect but the date is correct. As of the recording of this video, the time was 11:35 on my host machine. So to fix this, I'll be doing the following command: time date ctl set ntp true, and check the date again. And on my host machine where I installed Arch Linux, this fixed the date and got me the right time. So in this case, since it didn't work, we'll be running another command: time date ctl set timezone Asia/Calcutta, if I can spell Calcutta correctly. Now if I check the date and time are correct. Now the time zone I have set is Calcutta because I live in India and Calcutta is the time zone that Arch Linux supports. So I've set it to be Calcutta. So now we'll be shown 11:36 AM IST. Now we have the time zone set. Now the next thing we should do is to check whether we are on the legacy system or aka the BIOS system or the UEFI system. So for this, we should type in the command ls/sys/firmware/EFI/EFI wars, and if this returns certain variables, it means that we are on the UEFI system. And if this command didn't return anything, it means we are on the BIOS/legacy system. Now, once we know which system we are on, the next thing we can do is to partition the hard disk. Now to partition the hard disk, first let's check whether our hard disk is even being detected. So for that, let's type lsblk. Now we are seeing here that we have a 40 gigabyte hard disk created, and fdisk-l. In this case, we have seen that the disk is raw and unformatted. So to format the hard disk, we will be using cfdisk. Now, for UEFI systems, GPT is the type of hard disk you should create in case of a fresh installation. Now, if your hard disk has been already made because you are already installed Windows, this option will not come up. You will be greeted directly by the next screen that I'll be showing later. Now, if you are on a UEFI system and this is your fresh hard disk, you should be using GPT. But if you're using on a legacy system, you should be using DOS label type. So let's select GPT. Now, if you are planning to dual boot Linux with Windows, in this place you will be seeing various bunch of partitions that have been set up by Windows. And in case you are planning to dual boot Linux, you should also use Windows's disk utility to shrink a volume good enough for your needs. And in my case, I allocated a 60 gigabyte partition to install RC Linux on. So I shrank one of the Windows drives to free up 60 gigabytes and formatted that to install RC Linux. In this case, since we are using a fresh hard disk, the entire disk is empty. Now, in the case of UEFI system, we need 2 partitions minimum. And the first partition is the size of 512 megabytes. And the second partition is the remaining size. We will write the changes to disk, type in a yes to confirm, and quit the program. Now, if we type lsblk again, now we can see that we have our 2 partitions created. Now, we need to format the system. So, for the first 512 megabytes partition that I've created, that is the EFI system, EFI boot partition. So for that, we'll be formatting it as FAT32. So for that, we'll type mkfs.fat2/dev/sda1. This should have formatted that as FAT partition. Now the second partition we have, the SDA2, is to be formatted as an ext4 partition for Linux to use. So we'll be typing it as ext4, creating the default journal, writing the partition information into the disk, done. So this should be done. Now if we type fdisk-l, you can see that our partitions here are created. Now the next thing to do is to mount the partition. So we'll be mounting the SDA2 partition to this mnt folder. So we'll type mount/dev/sda2 to mnt. Now mnt will be mounted as the second partition of our hard disk. Now we need to create a home partition. So what we'll do is we'll type mkdir/mnt/home. Now this will create a home partition. Now in this case, if you had a separate partition for the home partition, you can mount the partition by typing in mount/dev/sda3 or whatever this number is to /mnt/home. Now in this case, I'm planning to use the same partition for home and root. So we will not be doing this step. Now to check whether our partition mounts are correct, we'll type lsblk. And as you can see here that our second partition from the hard disk is mounted as mnt. Now we need to install the system, for which we'll be using the pacstrap command. pacstrap-i/mnt to specify where you want to where you want it to be installed and what are the packages you want it installed. And in this case, we want the base, Linux firmware, sudo, and nano as my text editor. Now we'll be installing the packages. and we'll all follow the defaults, proceed with the installations, and I'll be back once this installation is done. So once the installation is done, now the next thing we need to do is to generate the file system partition table, for which you should type gen fstab -u /mnt, pipe it to the file mnt/etc/fstab. Now, in case you want to check what's the contents of the fstab file, you can type nano/mnt/etc/fstab, or whatever the text editor you want to prefer to use. And as you can see here, that ext4 partition has been mounted. We'll exit out. Now we need to change root into the partition, or I'm sorry, not the partition, the system we installed. So we type arch chroot /mnt, and we will be using bin/dash for the command line interface. So once we have changed root, now the next thing we need to do is to change the locale. So we need to type nano/etc/locale.gen, and from here, 95% of the time, if you are a English language user, the thing you need to uncomment is en_us.utf-8 utf8. This is the only option that we need to set up the system, the language for the system. So we will save this and exit. Now, after which you should type locale-gen. We will have utf8 enus locale generated. Now we need to echo it into the locale.conf. So for that we'll type echo lang equals en_us dot utf8, pipe it to etc/locale.conf. Now, the important thing you need to realize about the piping is that this means that you create the file and overwrite it if the file exists, and this means to append. So be careful, mindful of this command. Not the command, this piping. Now, next thing we need to do is to set the time zone. Now we'll check the available time zones we have. /sf/usr/share/zone-info. I already know which is my time zone, and I'm showing this command to show you guys if you need to find another time zone. Now press tab. Now this will show you the available regions. Now in this case, I have to go to Asia. And as you can see, that Calcutta is one of the options. So I'll be using that as my local time. So I'll be typing in ln-sf/usr share zone-info/Asia/Calcutta and send it to etc/local time. 1 / 2 / 3 / 4 / 5 / 6 / 7 / 8 / 9 / 10 / 11 / 12 / 13 / 14 / 15 / 16 / 17 / 18 / 19 / 20 / 21 / 22 / 23 / 24 / 25 / 26 / 27 / 28 / 29 / 30 / 31 / 32 / 33 / 34 / 35 / 36 / 37 / 38 / 39 / 40 / 41 / 42 / 43 / 44 / 45 / 46 / 47 / 48 / 49 / 50 / 51 / 52 / 53 / 54 / 55 / 56 / 57 / 58 / 59 / 60 / 61 / 62 / 63 / 64 / 65 / 66 / 67 / 68 / 69 / 70 / 71 / 72 / 73 / 74 / 75 / 76 Then type hw clock sys tohc -utc and check the date. As you can see here that we have set up our time zone, the date is correct. Now we need to create the host name for your computer, and this is used for networking purposes to identify your system. So I'll be using the name echo arch VM as the name of the host, and for your real life computer you give the name that you choose and give it to the file /etc/hostname. So the host name of the computer is arch VM. Now we'll be editing and adding this information in to the host folder so we'll open it by nano and the file /etc/hosts. So the first thing we do is to type 127.0.0.1, which is our loopback address. Set it as localhost. Then the next thing is the IPv6 loopback address, that is ::1, same thing, localhost. And next thing we need to give our host name here by 27.0.1.1, the name of your PC, in my case archvm dot local domain /archvm. Similarly, this can also, the alternate way to do this is also ::127.0.1.1 localhost dot local domain archvm. This command would also work. So after I set up my hosts, what I will do is that I will save this, Ctrl-O, exit. Now we are done setting up the hosts. Now the next thing we need to do is to enable Network Manager, and for this I'll be choosing the most commonly used one, Network Manager. So we'll be installing Network Manager by typing pacman -s Network Manager. Go with the defaults. Now, once we have Network Manager installed, we should enable it by typing systemctl enable Network Manager. Now it is enabled. Now we need to set up the root password. For this, we will be typing in PAWSSWD. Now we'll set up the root password. Type it in again to confirm. Now we have set up the password. Now the next thing we need to do is to install GRUB. Now in the case of standard Linux installation without Windows, pacman -s GRUB EFI boot manager is all we need. In case you have another operating system, in the case where you're dual booting Windows, you need the additional packages OS, Prober and NTFS 3G, so that Arch Linux can read NTFS partitions to detect there is a Windows installation. OS prober is used for finding out other operating system if there is an existence of another operating system, and NTFS 3G is to read NTFS partitions. Now, in the case of this virtual machine, these two commands are unnecessary, so I'll only be installing GRUB and EFI boot manager. Now we'll proceed with the installation. Now the installation is done. Now what we'll do is that we'll create a boot directory. So we'll make mkdir /boot /EFI. Now we have to mount /dev /sda1 the boot EFI partition to boot /EFI. Now we'll check lsblk, and as you can see here that the boot partition is mounted. Now we'll clear. Now to install the GRUB -install is all you need in case you're using a legacy booting system. But in the case of EFI, we have to give it an additional parameters target equals x86 underscore 64 EFI bootloader -id equals GRUB EFI directory as boot /EFI. Set it to be removable in case there is any in case we have to swap the hard drives. Now I'll be cross-verifying the command once again with archwiki. So it is GRUB install /target x86 underscore 64 EFI bootloader id GRUB EFI directory, the EFI directory, and removal. Now we will be installing the EFI boot manager. Now we'll be waiting for it to finish installing. Once the installation is done, now the next thing we need to do is to generate the GRUB config file. So it will be GRUB mkconfig -o /boot /grub.cfg. And during this process, it should detect other operating systems. So here we'll be generating the GRUB file. It has already detected that there is a Linux installation, and since we don't have any other installation, this is all you should see. And in the case if you have Windows, it should say it found Windows on the dev /sda, the partition number on which the Windows installation is found. Now, this command is common for both legacy and UEFI booting systems. Now, we are done installing Arch Linux or installing Arch Linux into the hard drive. So we will exit out of the chroot environment, unmount the partitions by using umount -r/mnt, then we reboot. And in this case, I will force shut it off so that I can remove the ISO. So I will remove the ISO from the CD-ROM and then boot up. And if I've installed everything correctly, it should boot up. So as you can see here that we have booted into Arch Linux, the GRUB. Now we'll start into Arch. Now this is essentially, now we have to give in the login credentials, the password. Now your Arch Linux base installation of Arch Linux is complete. You can use it as follows from this point onwards, but it isn't user friendly. So now the next thing we need to do is to create a swap file in case you want to use enable hibernation or to do memory management. So I'll be using the command dd if equals dev/0 of the name of the swap file /swap file bs block size equals 1 megabyte. Count, in this case I want more than 4. In case you want hibernation, you should give more than 4, more than at least 1 gigabyte more than your RAM size. So that would be count equals 5112 megabytes, not 5112 megabytes, 5120. Status equals progress. Now this should take a while depending on your hard disk speed, as it is going to create a swap file of that particular size. Now once the swap file has been created, now we can mount it by giving it special attributes. Now to repeat it again, swap file, if you want to enable hibernation, the swap file should be at least 1 gigabyte more than your RAM size. So if you have 8 GB RAM, 9 GB swap file minimum. So in this case I have 4 GB RAM, so I created a 5 GB swap file. Now we should give it special permissions, so that we'll say chmod 600 / swap file. Now we make a swap file by typing make swap file, make a swap by using mkswap / giving it the swap file. We have our UUID here, then we enable the swap file by using swap on / swap file. Once that's done, we have to edit the fstab file by using the text editor /etc/fstab. Now I'll add the swap file. And here we shall type it as /swap file none swap defaults 0 0. We'll save this, exit, and in the case if we have a swap file generated, free-m should show us a swap file, and in this case we have a swap file successfully generated. Now the next thing is that we will not be having Wi-Fi in our rebooted installation, and since I've installed a network manager, the command that you should use is nmcli. And since I don't have wireless and I have Ethernet which is pre-connected, I should have internet. Now in case we are using Wi-Fi, we should type the command nmcli device Wi-Fi connect. Wi-Fi is the the Wi-Fi should be replaced with your Wi-Fi device, adapter device, WLO1 connect, SSID name, password, the SSID WPA2 PSK key, and it should connect. And once you connect to Wi-Fi, check whether you have internet connectivity. And in this case, because I'm using the NAT Ethernet network, I will obviously have internet. Now, once you have your network reconfigured again, now the next thing we need to do is to add a second user by which you will be using the default command, second user by which you will be using it for daily use. So for this, you'll use user add -m -g users, add him to the wheel group by using capital G wheel -s, assign him the bash environments. We are using bin/bash, and the username, in this case Linosh. Username should be created. Now to create the password, I'll give my password, confirm again, password's created. Now we need to give Linosh the user sudo privileges. So what I will be doing is by typing the command editor is equal to nano vi sudo. It will open the sudoers file, come down and uncomment %wheel all equals brackets all. Do not uncomment this because it gives sudoers the ability to execute without password. So save this file. Now my user should have sudo permissions. Now I'll exit, log in using my user. I have logged into my user, and in case I try to use installation using pacman, as you can see there, I'm not root. So to install the packages, now I need to type sudo. So now we need to install the graphical user interface and audio interfaces. So we'll be using pulse audio, pulse audio ALSA, xorg xinit, and xorg server. And I've forgotten to type sudo at the start, so I have to type sudo pacman the packages I need to install. Now I'll give my password. I will install the defaults, proceed with installation. Now, since I've got a graphical corruption over here, I will be rebooting the machine. I will be shutting down the system and rebooting it again. This is totally unnecessary if you are on a real machine, but since the QEMU is throwing me graphical errors, I will shut down the machine. And start it up again. Give it my user. Successfully logged in. Now I need to install video drivers. And in the real life case, I had to install the legacy ATI and Intel drivers. So I had to install it by using sudo pacman -s XF86 video Intel and XF86 video ATI for legacy systems. Now I'll not be installing this on the virtual machine. The right driver I should be installing on my virtual machine is Video QXL. I'll install QXL drivers, and there are a lot of other drivers. For example, we can use AMD GPU for modern AMD drivers, or we can just use Nvidia for Nvidia packages. And I don't know the additional packages, and if I do find it out, I will put it in the video description. So I have installed the QXL drivers, which is required for this virtual machine. So now, after installing the drivers, now the next thing I need to do is to install the desktop environment. Now for this, I'll be installing GNOME by using sudo pacman-s GNOME extras for additional software. The defaults is fine. Proceed with installation and see you when it's done. So I'll be rebooting again because of the graphical corruption. Start it up. Give my credentials. Now the things I'll be doing now are to install an Arch user repository. So we have git installed, and if it is not installed, you should use sudo pacman-s git. Now since we have git already installed, now I will git clone https://AUR. Okay, where is the website? aur.arch/iay.get. So I'll be cloning yay as I into the directory, and next thing we should install is sudo pacman-s base devel to have base development utilities like make pkg, etc. Give a password. Defaults is fine. Proceed with the missing package installation. Now once that's done, we'll go to cda ls. We'll have our package build information. So to build yay, we should use make pkg-si. Now proceed with installing it. So why did I install Yay? So Yay is an Arch user repository, or aka AUR helper, which enables us to easily install Arch user repositories. Do note that ArchWiki clearly states that they are against using Arch user repository helpers because it doesn't always give you 100% perfect installations of a manual installation. However, considering the steps you have to do by cloning the build files into a folder, building the files themselves, and then later up cleaning up the directory, I think it's a good trade-off to have a AUR helper to install packages for us. Now once we have our AUR helper, I'll be installing the following packages: yay-s, Plymouth, which is to allow us our boot screen, and then an additional package, Plymouth theme Arch logo. We'll go with the defaults. Let it download. Now, once we have Plymouth installed, now we need to change the Linux kernel module configuration files by going into sudo nano/etc/mkinitcpio.conf. Now in this, one of the modules I'll be loading is QXL. For my video drivers, in this case the QXL driver. If you had this thing Intel, you would be using i915 AMD GPU or Radeon, the modules that is necessary. So in this case I'll be using QXL, so I'll be typing in QXL, and then the hooks are, we have to add Plymouth after the base and udev, so you'll be typing in Plymouth, save, exit. Then we need to rebuild the kernel, sudo mkinitcpio-p linux. So now the next thing we need to do is to check the theme for Plymouth. So to check the available themes that are available themes in Plymouth, the command we'll type is ls/users usr/share/Plymouth /themes. Now it will show us all the available themes, and we can set the theme by typing sudo Plymouth set default theme arch logo, and we can check it by using sudo nano/edc/ sorry, forgot to give a space, edc/Plymouth d.conf. As you can see here, we have the theme as Arch logo, shows no delay, Device timeout as 8. That's good enough. So now the next thing we need to do is to set up our grub. So we have to type sudo nano slash etc slash default slash grub, and ArchWiki recommends you use the following parameters to be appended to the end of the grub configuration files. So I'm looking up the ArchWiki right now to find the parameters you should give. So what you should do is to change this from quiet splash log level equals 3 rd.udev.log underscore priority equals 3 vt.global underscore cursor underscore default equals 0 on grub underscore cmd line underscore linux underscore default. Now what I have done is actually to type grub underscore cmd line underscore linux underscore default equals quiet splash, which will get the job done, but it is not recommended. So you should use this, change the grub, now save, exit. Now we need to regenerate the grub file. Oh, I've exited out of my login as well. So anyway, coming back, sudo grub -mkconfig -o /boot/ boot /grub/grub.cfg, given my credentials. So this time it will regenerate the grub file, and for the safety sakes I will rebuild the kernel image, even though it is not very necessary. Now once we are done with setting all of this up, now we need to enable the desktop manager. For that I use GNOME, so I'll be typing systemctl enable GDM Plymouth, and in case you didn't have Plymouth installed, it is just simply systemctl enable GDM. So because I had Plymouth installed, I'll be typing in GDM Plymouth. I will authenticate. Oh, I think I gave the incorrect password. Okay, so once that is done, just reboot. Okay, this was unexpected. So as I do know that the Plymouth didn't initialize correctly, so I think it's something related to QEMU, but otherwise it should have started up perfectly fine. Give my credentials. Log in. And as you can see here, we are on the desktop screen, which runs quite slow because of the fact that we are using a virtual machine. I'll set the panel resolution to 1366 cos, 768 cos. Why not? Keep changes. And because there is an error with the QEMU wherein which the mouse doesn't highlight properly. So in case we check, we have one bug that happens with the system, which is I can open GNOME Software Center. Okay, so now if I hit remove, it does nothing. So to fix this, you should install the package sudo pacman -s GNOME Software package git plugin. Give my credentials. No, incorrect password. Now once you reinstall that and reload the GNOME Software Center, it should be able to uninstall packages. As you can see here, now GNOME Software Center has asked for a reboot. So once I reload my GNOME Software Center and remove a package, for example, as you can see here, it asks me for authentication. So I'll give my authentication. And now it will successfully remove the package.
So this is a recording from my phone camera to show you that I have successfully installed Arch Linux on my hardware system. And as you can see here, we can see that it's already loaded up, configured right, and it can detect my Windows installation. And we'll be booting into Arch Linux, and I'll be showing you the boot screen that I wish to show you. I'm sorry the video is out of focus, but anyway, see you on the other side after login.
So we are back in the desktop environment. I do realize that the theming of the shell isn't 100% accurate to the default GNOME theme. However, I had installed third-party extensions and I've reverted back to the default look and feel for demonstration purposes of this video. So I'll be installing certain packages such as Firefox, Google Chrome from AUR, LibreOffice, and I think LibreOffice is spelled without the hyphen, so I'll be removing it, and Hibernator. This Hibernator package is helpful to enable hibernation function in your computer automatically instead of having the hassle of running it manually. I'll give my credentials. And as you can see here, that it says that I will have to be reinstalling these packages. And since I've already have these packages installed, I'll be hitting no for this case. Then I'll type in sudo hibernator to set up and configure hibernation functionality on my system. However, since I already have hibernator set up and configured and hibernation function enabled, I will not be running this command. Next, I'll be installing the Flat Remix theme, which I have been using as my default theme on my installation. To install it, I'll type -s flat-remix and press enter. Wait for it to sync with the repos, and it will show you that the package is already built, so I will abort by typing in AB. So once I installed my Flat Remix theme, I will open the installed extensions website from extensions.gnome.org/local. However, it is going to throw you an error stating that the shell extensions are not installed. So to install it, I will type in the command sudo pacman-s gnome shell extensions. Now, I will press N for this installation because I already have it installed. Now reload Firefox and it will show that it is installed. The shell extension is installed. Now you can similarly install the Chrome extensions by changing the command accordingly. And once it is reloaded, you can see that the installed extensions are updated, and you can see certain updates for certain extensions. Now I'll be installing 4 specific extensions: dash-to-dock, desktop icons ng, dynamic panel transparency, and hibernate status buttons. And after which I will open GNOME Tweaks, go to extensions, enable these extensions. First of all, I'll enable the user themes extension, and then the dash-to-dock, desktop ng, and dynamic panel transparency, which has been already enabled, and configure it to give me 80% opacity when I am in the desktop mode or unmaximized mode, and set up the custom color. And similarly, I will configure the dash-to-dock by the following settings and customizing it there. And similarly, we'll go to appearance, change it from Advaita to GTK blue dark or darker or whatever theme you like. And in this case, I'll be choosing GTK blue dark. And the icon pack as Flat Remix blue dark. The shell extension as Flat Remix blue full panel. The sounds would be default. I have no issues. And sometimes Firefox doesn't sync up with the extensions, so you will have to restart your system to make Firefox sync up with the extensions. Actually, the GTK Blue Dark wasn't the extension I was installing. Okay, this isn't it. And no, not that. Flat Remix GTK Blue Darkest no border. Now, as you can see, Firefox isn't syncing up properly. For this to get fixed, you just have to reboot. And now I will change other certain extensions such as wallpaper, etc. and see you. And also, sometimes the desktop icons may not come in sync. For this too, you will have to reboot. Now, you can see here that our desktop is fully configured, the icons working, the themes all correct. As you can see here, all fine, all good. So now you can just uninstall applications you don't need, install applications you need, set it up and configure it and tune it the way you like it. So I hope you guys like this video. Thanks for watching.